And we are live. We are live once again. Welcome everybody to Cooler Growth Club session. This evening we are live. I'm Visa Kabaka. I'll be hosting you, and I'm a partner at Innovation Advisory Group, HYBR Group, and I'm joining you right now live from Cape Town, where I'll be running through the session with you this evening. And just making sure that my producers have my slides ready, and I'm getting ready to kind of go ahead and take you through our session this evening. So please, if you are joining us from Cape Town or joining us from anywhere around the country, welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got another jam-packed Cooler Growth Club session with you this evening, tonight we are focusing on the tourism industry, and we have a wonderful guest with us this evening who's going to be talking about her personal journey to setting up Cape Town's only Black-owned hotel or hospitality establishment in the CBD of Cape Town, Ikaya Lodge, and it's my wonderful friend Ruth Kamau. And this evening, she's really going to be talking about a personal story about how building a trust process is fundamentally that you follow your trust process while you're working towards fulfilling your dreams. I've personally known Ruth going on 7 or 8 years now, so it's been a wonderful journey watching her as she's grown through this process. If you're watching us and catching us live on Facebook or YouTube, you certainly can send us messages and tell us what you think of the session, and we'll also joined by our partners this evening. If you just want to know where to find these broadcasts, they're live right now on Facebook and YouTube, but you're welcome to engage with us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EntrepreneurTraction or @HYBR Group or @official SMTax. But the tag for all these sessions is #CoolerGrowth, where you can find all the wonderful sessions we've done in the past, as well as following through on the session this evening. We are live broadcasting this session. Thanks to the team at DPK, it's going out live to YouTube, to Facebook. Simply search that #CoolerGrowth, and you can find us pretty easily from there. If you have any questions and you'd love to check in or join these sessions in future, please feel free to find us on webinars at smtax.co.za, where we can add you to the list in our growing community of entrepreneurs and small business holders currently following our sessions. This evening's agenda is fairly straightforward, it's fairly simple. It's the same jam-packed session as we go through some of this important kind of lessons that we're going to learn. Right now, we're going to remind you what the objectives of why we are here and why you tuned in and why you should be the one joining the Cooler Growth movement that we're building. We want to pay homage to our sponsors, DPK, SMTax, and the HYBR Group, just to say thanks for keeping the flame alive. And after that, we'll hand over to Bongiwe, who's joining once again from SMTax, Ubongi Beja, where she is the CEO of Startup Services. And then the moment that most of you probably would have been waiting for is that conversation with Ruth Kamau. I, for one, am looking forward to this amazing personal story in learning some of the things that Ruth has had to overcome to build her dream and to build on her vision. And as she said, to follow that process as she's gone about building her establishment. We'll tell you a little glimpse of what comes up next. And I can tell you as a hint that Ruth is going to be doing a little more something different with us again in a future session, where this time she'll be hosting a masterclass. It is Tourism Month as usual, and we are going by the hashtag of Women in Tourism. And Ruth will be doing a masterclass on how you can build and sustain a hospitality establishment post-COVID-19. So we're looking forward to those dates and hearing some more of Ruth's practical business expertise in how to build a business. But tonight, we can look forward to a personal story of how she's kept doing it and how she's kept following through in her process. So I'm very excited for that. In case you are joining us in these sessions for the first time, you are always welcome. We are building a steam train of fans and followers who are coming on board all the time. So we really embrace and welcome you on board in this particular journey. The Cooler Growth Network is again a network for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs, and it's a purely a peer support kind of community. And the first kind of critical objective of why we have these sessions is primarily to convene around new possibilities. We want to see you grow through this uncertain time that we all find ourselves in. And again, as you can imagine, being Tourism Month, that the hospitality industry is possibly one of the hardest hit communities or ecosystems or industry in our economy. In fact, in economies all across the world. So there's nothing like an inspirational story to rev you up and get you going, hopefully to also establish your own business. We are here to get new ideas for fresh perspectives on by listening to other people's stories, learning from their journey, and really embracing a new way of thinking about the same old things and the monotony of being in small business. You're no longer alone. There's an opportunity in which to now build a community of friends that can take you forward. The second key objective that we have is this amazing peer support network that we have in mind. We are growing this support network with the support of SM Tax and HYBR, and recently with DPK joining the train and bringing this together for small business owners from across the continent who tune into these sessions. So thanks to those of you who are not necessarily in South Africa, but are always coming on board to join us in these wonderful sessions. And lastly, our commitment as business owners, as you know, is to economic participation, and it's to job creation, and it's really unlocking the opportunity for everybody on the continent. So hopefully, with that in mind, and now with everything that you know, you too can come along and join us in the Cola Growth movement. As a Cola Growth Club, we exist as an entrepreneurship community like no other, dedicated to small business owners who are fully committed to their business growth, their personal development, their knowledge exchange, and long-term success. The community has been established as a member benefit community with a focus on tangible value creation, access to affordable business services, thank you SM Tax, and non-partisan commitment to SME advocacy. We will drive the messages of SME development all the way throughout. And to that point, we are really dedicated to business growth is at the core of our community. And again, just like last time, we are big fans of Pharrell Williams and featuring Jay-Z. That video, people, go and check it out. If you need inspiration this week, go check out that Pharrell Williams song, Entrepreneur, on YouTube. We're not going to show you the video because, again, just in case we lose our Facebook link, we want to keep it, but the URL and shortcode is right there. So if you haven't seen that video just yet, if you haven't listened to the song just yet, this is the opportunity for you to go out and check out Pharrell Williams featuring Jay-Z singing the song Entrepreneur. But you tell you what, the special part about it is that video. Oh man, that video is the most inspirational thing that you're going to see today. So go and check out that video. As per usual, we get a lot of support for wonderful friends all around the world. So thank you for your amazing feedback. Keep telling us what more we can do for you to make your journey that much smoother. So thanks for your feedback, and we constantly welcome in receiving it. Now, again, the Kula Growth Club would not be possible without partners, without enablers, and without catalysts. And to this, we want to thank the team at SM Tax for coming on board. SM Tax is a digital accounting firm based right here in South Africa, but I know that they have big plans for coming more and more into the continent. So again, Mogi will tell us a little bit more about the insights that they've put together around the tourism industry, again, and how they support the tourism industry. So I also want to thank our team. The reason you are right now watching me on YouTube or Facebook is because of the team at DPK. They too are growing like nobody's business. And I'm excited to be collaborating with the team at DPK. Thanks to Durkee as well as to Pierre for just always being there for us, guys. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And lastly, I want to thank my own team at HYBR Group. Guys, we've been busy. We've got a lot of things going on, but I'm very excited by the fact that we can still continue being able to bring out these sessions live every second Thursday of every month. So with that in mind, I want to quickly hand over to Bongiwe Peja. I was going to share some SME insights that are coming out from the team at SM Tax as they kind of look into the tourism industry and how they can support your business if you are operating in the hospitality or the tourism or one of these industries. Bongi, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Vu. Thank you so much for the lovely welcome. And I'd also like to welcome all our viewers to the Cooler Growth Club. I'm very excited to be here for yet another live webinar where we're talking this month all things tourism and all things tax. Because in September, the September month in South Africa is tourism month, and it's also when the tax season officially starts. Yeah, so I'm just going to share a few things that we've observed during this time as SM Tax. Obviously, we've been in lockdown, and most recently, we're now on level 2 in our country, which means that it's quite timely for Tourism Month. People are now able to go to hotels, go and visit restaurants, and there's a huge drive around increasing the hospitality industry's visibility and also for them to restart and start trading again. So I urge anybody out there who is a client to a hospitality business to continue to support these businesses. We are nothing without tourism, and I'm hoping that as the economy opens up, we'll see that these businesses stay afloat. I think what's become most apparent across sectors with regards to COVID-19 is becoming more digital. And what's been a real privilege at SM Tax is that we were born digital. We're a digital accounting firm, and what we do then is to give entrepreneurs visibility on their transactions. But more specifically in tourism and in the hospitality industry, you'll notice that clients now want a place where they can have contactless transactions, and also the entrepreneur themselves not to keep a book of slips of what they've transacted on and then sending that over to their accounting firm, or literally driving to their accountant to hand over a file of what's happened over a period of time. We pride ourselves in offering a digital solution from as easy as uploading slips and your transactions online, whether it's on your mobile phone or any other system that you use, whether it's a laptop or a computer. And more so, our system integrates with your bank account, and it also integrates with virtually any point of sale system. And so I'd really like to encourage those that are in the hospitality industry. This is how we are assisting our clients from as little as 450 Rand a month. What we're doing is we can onboard you onto a financial system that is delivered digitally, so it doesn't matter where you are. For a little bit more, you can also, because with tourism, we understand that you have to transact multi-currency, and so we've got a multi-currency solution as well. So I'd really encourage you to visit www.smtax.co.za. We also acknowledge that for the tourism industry and the hospitality industry, a lot of the individuals have been impacted in terms of employment. Others have been retrenched, others are slowly getting back in there, and few are starting their own organizations, small businesses, where you're seeing people deliver food from home to home. You're seeing people open up their homes and considering things like Airbnb and the like. If you are in that position and you also have your personal finances to look after, we've got a personal finance division where we can do your personal tax. And as you know, 1st of September, tax season opened. And so you're welcome to visit SM Tax, www.smtax.co.za, but more specifically /startup. And there you'll see a range of services that we can assist you with. And also, if you are in that position where you want your personal finances in order, please visit our website and we're ready to help you. I'm excited to hear from Ruth tonight on her journey at Ikaya Lodge, and we assist companies like Ikaya Lodge to really have a digital presence. So thank you very much, Ruth. Awesome. Dirkie, if you can please get Vu back online, that would be great, so that he can then formally introduce Ruth, who's coming all the way
with Cooler Growth sessions.
Thank
so
you.
welcome Ruth. So again, as we would do otherwise, we welcome you. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Wongi, for your insights, and thank you always as well for always kind of giving us something to think about. that's always kind of really kind of aligned to where we're going. So thanks again to the team at SM Tex for always kind of bringing forward some interesting insights for you to work on. Yeah. And good luck with tax season, because I'm sure that's going to be quite hectic.
Thanks, Boo. We need
Yeah.
that.
Pleasure. Thank you, Bongi. So again, we're now gonna talk to my wonderful friend, my beautiful, wonderful friend, and my sister. And again, I wanted to kind of quickly introduce Ruth to the audience. I've certainly known Ruth for a number of years, so it's always good to have you. And I know, I mean, for me, selfishly, for myself, I had to do this because I think there's a part in this that I think everybody will learn to appreciate once you finish talking. You've really worked so hard over the years, and been a wonderful kind of role model, and again, a wonderful professional and a wonderful sister as well to those of us who've watched your progression, your growth. I'm certainly personally very proud to be your friend and to have you as someone in my world, because certainly, you set a very good positive bar. I don't want to let the story out too quickly. I want you to tell it the way you want to tell it. And again, if you're tuning into this session and you want to kind of interact and listen to Ruth's advice, do remember that you can comment on Facebook, you can comment on YouTube, and we'll receive your comments, and the production team will make sure that we get those comments and we interact with Ruth. But without kind of holding a conversation up too much, I'll quickly just introduce you everybody to Ruth Kamau. Ruth is originally born in Kenya and has been working in South Africa and building a wonderful African-themed establishment called Ikai Lodge. You can go check it out. And again, I'm sure they're open now and they're ready to receive your booking with Ruth and the team. So it's ikailodge.co.za. I've had the pleasure of knowing Ruth for a number of years, and she's supported really a number of small owned businesses, and we've always taken the opportunity to work with her and utilizing her establishment and kind of supporting and patronizing her place. And again, it's not far. It's on the doorstep of Parliament, right in the CBD of Cape Town. It's called Ikai Lodge. Come and check it out if you are watching and you're visiting South Africa one day. But Ruth is going to tell us more about her story so that you can understand what it's doing. I mean, I remember, Ruth, you remember we started a wine thing together.
Yes,
and it didn't go very well in Sea Point.
and you had to bring that up.
So we've been a long way, my sister. So it's so good to have you join us on these sessions. And I know that everybody's just going to have such an amazing time listening and learning from you. So over to you, Ruth.
Wow, I don't know what to say, Boo. Thank you, thank you so much. It's really, I mean, you had to bring up something that didn't work, right? Not the things that worked.
It's experience. It's life experience. This is where we've been with our lives,
True story. Because I think to be an entrepreneur and to be a business person, you have to be prepared to have stops and starts. That's just part of the process, really.
Yeah. So over to you. Take it from here, and then I'll be in the back just making sure that we get the flow. So I'll be listening in as well, because I'm also looking forward to listening in. So I'm grateful for that.
Okay, thank you so much, Boo, and good evening, everyone who's listening in. I'm delighted. I really am. Boo is a great friend. He's a great supporter of Ikaya. He's a great supporter of me as an individual. He's always encouraged me right from the time we met, which is like going back 10 years. I know, gosh, how time flies. Yep, but it's all good when you're still, able to celebrate one another. That's what really counts in life. So I'm really happy to be here, and I thank everybody who's logged on this evening. And Boo and Simtax, once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. As a business owner in the hospitality industry, September is a notable month as we celebrate tourism in South Africa. This year, the impact of COVID-19 has devastated the industry, and sadly, many businesses have had to close their doors. And so it's a bittersweet time for me, and This also makes this opportunity even more meaningful as I reflect on 14 years in my business, Ikaya Lodge and Conference Center. When you asked me how I got here, Vu, it set me thinking. Without formal training or having chosen this field as a career, the route is hardly obvious. However, on reflection, what I previously thought were seemingly unrelated events in my life, well, they've come together and dovetailed smoothly to equip me for this specific role and in this specific place. After all, Ikaya Lodge and Conference Center is one of my dreams. And so now it is clear to me that I got here because of how I started. And that somewhat zigzagging process begins in my childhood. Our family home is situated a mere 30 minutes out of Nairobi, Kenya's capital, on a farm in Red Hill, Limuru. To give you some context, my parents relocated from Nairobi in 1964, 2 years after Kenya's independence. Kenya was a British colony and so considered part of the British Empire. This means land was annexed by the Crown and was divvied out to the British settlers, especially post the World Wars. Africans had been forcibly removed from and put in reservations, notoriously so in the traditional homelands of the Kikuyu and Maasai community. Post-independence, as part of the transfer of land ownership to the previously disenfranchised indigenous community, the new African government had secured from the outgoing British government the finance for Kenyan banks so that Africans could take loans and buy land from white settlers who had opted to leave. And so in securing such a loan, my parents purchased land in picturesque Red Hill and set off to manifest a dream. Then fast forward to 2005, when my brother and I decided to invest in a hospitality business together. This first marker was effortlessly accepted by our collective psyche. The knowledge that our parents had believed in their dreams enough to take a significant risk spurred us to confidently do the same. My mother is a farmer, and my father worked in Nairobi as General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. These two worlds informed our lives, and therefore mine, in a fantastic and rare way, for which I am truly grateful. It is the base of what informs me to this day, and so my first heroes are my parents. Living on a farm means work, which for anyone who's grown up on a farm will readily confirm. My mother has an extremely driven personality, added to which she is fearless. Unlike my siblings who went to boarding school at a very early age, one even as early as 6 years old, somehow I stayed at home and interacted with my mom daily and only went to boarding school when I was 13. I watched her take on this 40-acre farm, and right before my eyes, animals and vegetables literally sprouted around me. It wasn't that my mother had a spectacular education to fall on. On the contrary, she would have had the equivalent of a grade 7 in South Africa today. But what my mom has is a spectacular imagination. She wanted to be a serious farmer and was blessed with a spouse who believed that she could. And together, they created an opportunity. Apart from a brief animal husbandry course at some point in her life, my mother learned on the job. You see, in post-independent Kenya, the farming community joined cooperatives that enlisted veterinarians, agriculturists, and such, enabling industrious citizens to tap into quality resources for excellent support. And because she ended up with at least 200 chicken and 500 pigs, the result was an abattoir for slaughtering her pigs, a miller to mill the grain for her animals and the surrounding community, and a treatment dip for protecting the cows against ticks, foot and mouth disease, and the like. Of course, she invited people to use it for free. Mom's thing is, go for your dreams and monetize them. So under the tutelage of this dynamo, weekends, holidays, they were spent working. We made all the bricks that built the pigsties, using a hand-operated brick maker. Then the pigs arrived, and we learned how to shovel pig manure and clean sties. Sure, I mean, it was a smelly job, but it was nothing that a good hot shower couldn't cure. And we became very good at scrubbing up because we needed to hang out with our friends. There was no gender bias in allocation of duties with my parents, and this was hugely empowering. In hospitality, success is determined by service. And being comfortable in my role as a female business owner is vital for my success, and also to rally my team behind me and build client confidence. I was further emboldened in this venture by the knowledge that the power of one's imagination and so dreams, when fueled by a can-do spirit and hard work is embraced as the grease that transforms the dreams into a reality, then all I need is to align with those who believe in me, like Vuyisa, identify a professional network, and just go for it. My father, on the other hand, was an administrator of a sizable NGO, but also a serial entrepreneur. This is how he could support my mother's dreams. She was actually one of them. His other dreams were in the city. Together with a lifelong friend, they set up a dry cleaner, and then a cafe, and then another. These businesses were blessed, and they prospered. And in later teen years, when the farm was no longer considered where we needed to be for new work experience, one by one, my sisters, who are immediately older than I, were enlisted on the restaurant staff list. After spending holidays and weekends on the farm, it was glorious to go into Nairobi so regularly. The restaurants were positioned close to public transport hubs and the cinemas, and this kept us very busy. For me, the first benefit was being able to see my friends so frequently, and of course, sneaking out for a matinee on extended lunch breaks every once in a while. But being on staff meant work, and true to form, we started with the basic duties: mopping up floors, cleaning the toilets, and then promotion to peeling potatoes and shelling peas for our best-selling food item, mokimo wa miji. This is a Kikuyu food found at most eateries and hotels in Nairobi, and is commonly known as irio. Once I had had the hang of the business, I could also wait on tables and guess what? Be the cashier and operate the cash register. And then it was on to managing each of the cafes. This was an amazing experience. And all this happened before my 20th birthday. These roles made it clear to me that leadership is involvement, and getting to know everything about your business is vital, no matter the kind of work that you do. Not only does it earn the respect of your team more readily, it also makes one trust their own decisions more and comfortable to ask for opinions from your team and other people as a result of feeling secure in your own position. I drew onto these experiences directly when I took on the helm at Ikaya. It was possible to train my team by example, jump in ready to demonstrate whichever task was required in order to achieve clarity. I remember using my cookbooks to conjure up new menus for the restaurant and for conferencing. Although it was rigorous work, it was also enormous fun. And it went a long way to creating the cohesive team that we have today. I should say, though, that in 2006, when I arrived in Cape Town, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to take on the enterprise we had invested in, I was not prepared for what I would require on a social level. The overt racist backlash was searing. There were elements in the square and within the city that did not hesitate to threaten to have the business closed, while others openly declared that they would never support the enterprise. Some declared we would downgrade the status of the square. All this while standing in my reception. The second burn was from people who looked like me. It was unexpected and saddening to experience that. People from Africa are often seen as opportunists, cashing in on the wealth of South Africa. The sizable investment to establish the business or the citizens employed and the taxes paid are often overlooked. My initial response was combative, and I pushed back. But anger and resentment led to a negative spiral, which was draining and robbed me of joy. For clarity, I leaned back on my faith and what I had seen in my parents. You see, despite having been part of the fight for uhuru, Kenya's freedom from colonialism, and having been forcibly incarcerated under hard labor for almost 4 years, one never got a hint of racial undertones in how my father approached his work. When he assumed the role as first African General Secretary, his personal assistant was a wonderful white Canadian woman who became a family member in no time. Beyond relatives and family friends, we made good friends in the children of my father's colleagues from Europe, Japan, and the US, as well as the rest of the continent. Color did not exist for us. We either got along or we didn't. We either liked each other's foods or we didn't. And this informed my views on race and culture. And so 18 months into this fray of tit for tat, when my father, now in his mid-80s, came to visit, I was quite disgruntled. Included in his visit was an appointment for tea and shared memories with a dear friend and colleague, Emeritus Archbishop Desmond Tutu. To see these two elderly freedom fighter stalwarts laugh and embrace warmly and clap each other's backs for having won the fight, it reframed my perspective. Racism and xenophobia are terrible lies, and they're fed by fear-filled people. The choice not to be a victim, but rather to rise above these evil lines, it was an easy one to make. The other thing that became clear was that the narrative at Ikaya had to change. Perhaps one of the least obvious aspects of the process is my love for storytelling. This evolved in me in my teen years, when at 15, my drama teacher asked me to write a play. Although I had never made the attempt before, she was encouraging enough, and that spectacular imagination gene set off on a gallop. The result was the Purity Test, a play set in a fictitious village in Samoa. It didn't matter that I had never been on a plane, let alone visit a Polynesian island. The play was a great success, and it went on not only to win as the school play, but at provincial and finally national level, where it captured the first prize as the best original script in English for that year. Well, there's nothing like success to spur success, and I went on to write more school plays and then successfully commercially produce 4 plays over the course of my university and early working life. So, standing back and looking at the space that we had been blessed with, I became very intentional at developing a Pan-African pride at the lodge. The staff complement became Pan-African, and uniforms drew from African influences. And the first benefit was the mutual understanding it created. The second adjustment was playing music from the continent only. The universe conspired, and wonderful compilations from Putumayo world music were the first choices we made. Now we can get a host of music. Images of African icons followed: Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Steve Biko, and a host of others on icons that are scattered on what we fondly refer to as our African Wall of Fame at Ikaya. These, coupled with the unique safari feel at Ikaya, have become part of the unique ambience in an otherwise Eurocentric city. I am grateful for supportive teachers who identified a gift in me that I did not know that I had, and an education system in which celebrates not only academic but cultural and sporting achievements as well. Any business is dependent on its customers. And with the new position, a base that was keen to celebrate the diversity that Ikaya had now acquired was required. In as far as the building blocks of my process, 15 years of corporate experience and my academic training are an obvious link. I graduated with honors in business administration from Kenyatta University, and although I trained as a teacher, I only taught briefly. Bulk of my corporate experience was with the NutraSweet Company, an American firm, which relocated me to Uganda on recruitment in 1994. My role was to lead the launch of a joint venture between NutraSweet and the Madvani Group, arguably the leading manufacturer in Uganda at the time. The success of that venture led to increased scope as sub-Saharan manager, and Nigeria was added to my portfolio, which I managed, and the creation of a similar JV with the Dangote Group. Tanzania and Swaziland soon followed. In the course of my work, I also successfully pursued my MBA from Oxford Brookes University. The business knowledge, coupled by previous exposure to such excellent African corporations, created confidence in me that suitable partners for Ikaya existed. Our client base now includes the University of the Western Cape, the University of Johannesburg, Rhodes University, as well as other universities overseas, and local NGOs such as HYBR, Institute for Justice and Reconciliation, Human Resource Council, and many more. What was also gratifying was how this settling into myself evoked other values, such as the importance of impacting one's community with humanitarian actions. These had been brought to the dining table by my father. He drew on his role, which included close work with local and international organizations involved in peace talks and resettling displaced people from the Horn of Africa, the rest of Africa, and even South Africa. Naturally, he was involved in local negotiations too, due to skirmishes in northern Kenya. Not only did he use this opportunity to remind us of the value of peace and brotherhood, but we ended up with a new sister from northern Kenya, and she came to live with us, and later on, a brother. They were not related, and they were not Kikuyu like we are, and they came to us separately years apart. Having someone come into the family in this way really made embracing the notion of being your brother's keeper very real. Naturally, social responsibility is part of the ethos at Ikaya. I participate as a founding member of Hope Street, an NPO based in Cape Town, focused on resettling the homeless in the city. I also advise on the RSA board at Breadline Africa, whose mandate is the promotion of early childhood education in South Africa via the development of early childhood development centers. Ikaya also contributes to the community safety in the immediate area by supporting the Neighborhood Watch. Integrity was a vital role with my parents, as well as truth in purpose, as in do what really moves you and participate in causes that resonate with you, not for popularity. And I mentioned earlier, my brother. He is my non-executive business partner. This priceless part of the process of how I got here heralds from our beginning in the upbringing. We are also raised to have each other's backs, and this against the backdrop of faith in God. It was made clear that we were a family, that we are one family, regardless of occasional drama and what seemed like very real spats. When I landed in Cape Town, on a personal level, a juggernaut awaited me. The enormity of running a 24/7 business while raising 2 children by myself. That was what was waiting to present itself. So finding suitable schools and scheduling play dates was fitted in along with designing conference menus and managing endless guest relations. Everything was important. In the end, that was the trick. It all went into the diary. My children needed to know that they were not second fiddle to a very demanding business. And 14 years later, I have immense gratitude to God for the grace that I have been blessed with to be a present parent and to run the business successfully. My brother and I, managing this experience, as well as numerous others that we have steered through since, re-emphasize the importance of having a supportive business partner who respects your judgment, offers constructive feedback at all times, and allows you to focus, exercise creativity, and encourage you to stay true to your intentions. In all this, I remembered that the process required networking with like-minded people who could grow you and help you maintain focus. Thankfully, my circle evolved, and a key highlight was my nomination to the board of FEDHASA as chair of the small accommodation business segment, a position that I held from 2016 to July this year. Here, I met exceptional human beings committed to the industry, and then on to a wider cross-section of people through whom I have reimagined how I can do business in the city. At all times, it has been pertinent to remember to keep the main thing, as scripture directs, to run the race, eyes on the prize. The result is a dedicated, cohesive team, rewarded with the first prize for a 3-star guest house in the Western Cape in the 2016 Lily Zeller Awards, being included in the 2016 Travel Noir list of 10 best Black-owned hotels in the world, and loyal clients who recommend Ikaya globally. In the backdrop of COVID-19, Ikaya has not been spared the dire impact. I am reminded through the scripture on the plaquette reception, which has also been the genesis of many interesting conversations. Jeremiah 29:11. I choose to trust the process, and I believe in a good plan for my life. It gives me energy to participate, explore ways of pivoting, and rising up from this difficult situation. Energy, dare I say it, to come out ahead. It keeps me hopeful and therefore optimistic. Thank you.
Wow. But you know, it's such a story. There's something missing. You haven't told us. And I wanna there's a part that literally led a lot of these processes. And again, in the background, Dirkie is showing some of the pictures from Ikaya Lodge, some of the pictures you can see as they go through them. But there was a part in your story, Ruth, that I also want your professional career before hospitality. What influence was your professional career before you entered hospitality? What did you do before, and what were the key takeaways that you feel have shaped some of your journey?
So basically, as I mentioned, I first trained as a teacher. So I taught briefly. And that experience was very important to me in giving me confidence about passing on knowledge. So when I came into Ikaya, I had that patience. I remember my first manager, my first African manager, she had no clue how to use the computer. So she didn't understand that the mouse and the cursor, that those two were connected. And so that was very exciting to me, to be able to demonstrate to someone like that it was just the fact that they never had the opportunity before. They actually had the ability. And I think that kind of, thinking came from my training as a teacher. When I went into the corporate world, somehow I always landed as the first in a company to do this. They were creating roles, and which meant that when I went into those roles, I could actually make them my own, and it got me out of my shell, and it allowed me to tap onto all the different fearlessness. My mom kept saying, well, if you think it, do it. If you think it, do it, And that meant that when I came to IKAYA, I could also believe in myself and believe that no idea was too outrageous. You know what, Vu? When I worked for the NutraSweet company and I was transferred to Uganda, it was amazing. Uganda borders Kenya, but culturally, we're different people. And that was very interesting for me because it was an opportunity to see that in this continent, we have such richness, such diversity, such possibility.
Yeah.
And to be involved with those, and to be involved with those manufacturers that were making beer, they were making sugar, it was very exciting. And that made me believe that we could make IKAYA something really exciting for people to come and stay in.
So I'm gonna go to questions from the audience. We've got Ida Molloy or Molai. Hi, Ida. Thanks for joining us. She asks, what would you advise a young person who's dreaming of going into the hospitality industry?
Wow. Well, the first thing I would say is that you have to have a love for people, because hospitality is about service to people. And when people come and they stay in your venue or they come into your restaurant, they're coming to have a good time. They're coming to spoil themselves a little bit. They're coming to be indulged. And so you need to be prepared for that, so that when you go to them, you have this heart of wanting to do whatever you can to make their experience a positive one. The other thing that I would recommend is that you need to be ready for the long hours in hospitality. So it's just the nature of the industry. Even if you're in a restaurant only, or if you're in a hotel, you're more than likely going to pull some double shifts along the line, which means 2 8-hour shifts. So if you're not prepared for those two things, you'll find that people will irritate you or you'll complain of being overworked. And neither of them are actually really true. It's just the nature of the animal.
Thanks, Ida, for that question. And again, if you want to ask any questions for Ruth, or you want to send some comments, you are able to do so on the YouTube live YouTube broadcast, as well as to the Facebook page. I have some questions as well that I also feel you didn't address. One of those things is parenting and raising kids while running a business. Talk to us about that journey, about raising Bradley and Jess. What's that been like, and what's been? I know Jess not feeling well today, but I'm sure she would have loved watching Mom on the session today. But surprise them. I mean, what has that journey been like in balancing parenting as well as running a business, being a mom? And because I know that these are the things that other moms want to know. It's like, what are the toss-ups? What's the journey?
It was challenging. Okay, but that it doesn't mean it's impossible. It was just really challenging. And because they were quite young, Jessica turned 3 when we were here, and Bradley was 8 and a half. So they were at that age where they still needed mommy a lot, And that's why I said that I prioritized their needs as much as I could with the business by making sure I diarise things so that, their play dates still happen. I went home, did homework with Bradley, and then, got Jessica bathed and ready for bed and went back, because we used to have a restaurant then. And then I'll drive back to the restaurant. My phone is never off, because when you run a 24-hour business, a guest gets sick, you have a function, or you have 3 shifts, because I have 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7. That means the overnight shift. So my phone is just never off. And they had to learn that. They also learned to get used to being at Ikaya. So sometimes I would organize, like, somebody, if they were helping Bradley with homework, instead of meeting at home or at that person's place, that they could come at Ikaya, so that my son could see me. I'm working, but he's doing his homework at the same time, and I can interact with them. So it's about being creative, and it's also about finding special moments, because my father traveled a great deal. But one of the things that we all have are very, very good memories of dad spending time with us, even though he was away a lot. But it's because it's about quality and not quantity. So, for instance, we have something like Funky Friday. That's what we called it. And on Fridays, I wouldn't cook. Not that they minded, because I'm not a brilliant cook, but I wouldn't cook. And on that day, we get pizzas or, little Kentucky, something. Just do something together, even make something together, to create that sense of there's a day that mom is focused on us. We watch a movie together, and we make tents in the living room. You play with your children. And then they got older, and it was different things, but the pattern is the same. It's just what you're doing might change slightly, but the pattern is the same. It's about quality time.
So again, I mean, look, the reason why Ruth was using was because they're pretty much raising themselves now.
One is out of the country.
Brad is gone and finished school. Jess is finishing up school, so they're pretty much on their own now, and she's done the job. Soon you're going to be facing empty nest syndrome, by the way. So you're going to be an empty nester pretty soon.
I don't know. I'm not complaining. I think every season has its purpose. My daughter keeps telling me, 18 months, mom, 18 months, and then it's goodbye.
But by the way, maybe let's chat about that. What does that mean for you? Does that mean the baby that is Ikaya becomes a bigger emphasis and focus? Can we potentially be seeing more Ikayas at some point in the future? Is Ruth going into other ventures, since there's maybe other things that she's going to consider with more time and more on her hands? What's the journey for you next?
I am at the thing with COVID-19 is that we've had this 5 months when the businesses, most hospitality business, it has either been completely shut or very little trading is happening. And so it's quite natural as an entrepreneur to start thinking. So I've been thinking about different things. I'm happy with Ikaya, to be honest. I never saw myself owning a chain of guest houses, if that's the question. So that's unlikely to happen with my brother and I. But what we have realized with Ikaya is the potential that exists, for so many other kind of ventures, because we meet so many people in hospitality, so many gifted people walk through our doors, and you have all these engaging conversations. And so what you do eventually is you think, there's something that triggers your imagination. You start thinking, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe I could do that, So I think after 14 years, Ikaya can tick along, and I can do something with Ikaya, get a new baby, figuratively speaking, not like a biological baby, but a business.
Hey, miracle. More stranger things have happened, Ruth. Come on.
No. I've been there, done that. I got that T-shirt. I'm very happy.
So you've clearly inspired Ida, and now she comes back with another question around how important is it that Africans continue to invest in their continent? What are your thoughts on Africans invest? I know you can talk deliver another thesis on this, but just give us kind of the context around your thoughts around Africans investing on the continent.
Vu, how many? Let me start answering that question by asking you a question. You gave me a fun fact the other day about how many Africans turn 18.
Yeah. So for everybody listening and tuning in, it's factual, numerical, statistical truth that every month across the length and breadth of this continent, 1 million young people turn 18 years old every month. That's the current reality of Africa. So you just need to do the sums in terms of exponentially what does that mean for job creation in the future of the continent. So you've asked me that question. Why is this important, Ruth?
And therein lies my answer. Because there's almost inexhaustible potential on this continent. Right now, there are people who are creating fantastic products, fantastic products. You know, I'll give you an example of a product that really excited me. In Kenya, there's M-Pesa, right? And M-Pesa has revolutionized how people make payments from their cell phone. Everything from your insurance policy to buying the newspaper, you can do that with M-Pesa. And that was created right here on the continent. And in South Africa, there's so many new innovations. In Nigeria, whichever field you look at, there's so much happening. So the way I see it, anyone thinking about investing on the continent is making a good decision, because you have customers, new customers coming up on board every single month, who have the longevity. You know, when we're in corporate, we always look at a product life cycle. You know, so you look and see whether your customers are tapering off. You know, if they're in the 50s, you're like, oops, you know, these people are, their discretionary income might be or they're, you know, or they're passing on. So you kind of want to know that your market is continually being fed by new people coming on. And that's the thing about Africa right now, because of all these young adults who are going to then become the ones who are earning money. There is a market for anybody who wants to go into any field, I say. You just need to be able to pitch your idea to what is triggering the imagination of the African right now. And the African right now is on a renaissance. I think even having something like Black Lives Matter, yes, it's happening in America. But if you look at how it's triggered, how people of color think about themselves right now, it means there's a resurgence of pride that was probably only seen in the 60s when the African countries were fighting for independence. So it's a very exciting time to be alive and on the continent.
Look, again, I mean, look, if you want to do one thing, it's one of those things where you can look at the next 10 years and say, can we set that benchmark for ourselves to achieve that greatness? And to start kind of creating that opportunity of what comes next in the continent. I want to remind folks that you can join us and send comments and questions for Ruth, utilizing the YouTube channel if you're tuning in there, or utilizing the Facebook page. So do send us some questions, and we'll make sure that Ruth gets those questions. I have one more question related to something that I feel like we need to discuss as well. And that's your whole kind of context around trusting the process. And I want to maybe ask you to speak maybe more philosophically around this, okay? And I know that in preparing for this broadcast, and you know, a lot of thoughts unlocked in your mind about the journey in which you undertook. And you obviously gave us a very beautiful kind of, almost like the Valley of the Red Hills type of journey in terms of the journey. If you had to kind of encapsulate it, though, into a succinct kind of process, okay, and maybe stealing a little bit from Ida's kind of inspiration of getting young people to participate, if you had to kind of sit with me and advise me as a young person about what trusting the process at its core fundamental foundation is, philosophically, what would you say that is? What do I need to get about the process? Because my personal experience on this, Ruth, is that it seems like it's only when you get older that you figure out, oh, but that was the process. If I had more time, I mean, I remember my own personal conversation with my mother, where at that moment, when I was a younger man, at that moment of having this conversation with my mother, these things never resonated. As a result, a lot of what was shared with me, or a lot of the mentorship and coaching that I was given went way above my head. So if a young 20-something-year-old is listening to the session, what do they need to understand about this whole context around trusting the process? What does that mean?
Okay, I guess the first thing is listen to your mom.
I leave all of us did, yeah. Oh man, these days I'm bold enough to actually acknowledge, because I have such like a vivid memory of moments in my life where I was like, this particular experience I'm going through now is very familiar. I actually remember what was going on and the conversation I was having with my mom, and I remember my attitude of not listening or being stubborn or just not receiving the message. So, mom, I know we talk about it all the time. I know you're proud of me nonetheless, but I just wish I had listened. So she knows. She
Yeah,
knows. I tell her all the time. And we laugh about it as well. Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. True story, Vu, what you're saying, because I remember we used to whinge so much about all the work that we did, and how we didn't get paid, so the farm workers were paid, but we didn't get paid. My mom said, "You're eating, right?" So, and that was the end of that story. But then
By the way, I love the anecdotal stories about your mom. I think those are magical. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's quite a charmer, I can tell you, Vu. So but then what happened was, there came that time when you were writing your CV, right? And so you're applying for this job, and then they always say, "What work experience do you have?" And you're like, "Hello guys, I'm leaving school. What are you talking about?" But then all of a sudden we had all this stuff that we could write. So I'm really grateful for them making us little workhorses, because at the end of it, we could do that. So what I can say to a young person is, please, the people who are speaking life into your life, it might be uncomfortable, but that's where the diamonds are hidden, right in the pressure. So you need to first tap into those people who are speaking life into your life. The second thing is, as a young person, you need to expose yourself to different opportunities of learning. Yes, you might feel, "I want to be a lawyer. I know I want to be a lawyer." But don't give up the opportunity to work in a restaurant and wait on some tables, if that's what comes on your way. Or don't give up the opportunity to do, go and help on some park and learn to be a ranger. I'm saying that broaden your experiences while you've got the time, and very little other responsibilities that will, infringe on your time. To the young person on the continent, I would say, by all means, look at what's happening in other continents. Of course, you want to be relevant, but localize it. When we were in the NutraSweet company, they used to tell us, think global, act local.
Act
right?
local, yeah.
Yes. So all the things that are being done in the States, you can replicate them here. The things that are being done in Europe, you can replicate them here. So the trick is to Africanize them so that they appeal to your market tastes. And then you'll be away. You'll be developing products with a unique selling proposition. So listen to the people speaking life into your life, broaden your experiences of work, and allow yourself to test different things. The third thing, which I am finding, Vu, and now I'm being a mother, so forgive me, all the people who are listening, is that you need to encourage young people to read. Young people need to understand that there is a lot that they can learn just by tapping into other people's minds.
Other people's experiences.
Yes, and books allow you to do that in a very inexpensive way. So read biographies of people who you consider to be successful in their fields and in different fields. Like right now, I'm reading a book about engineering. It's called Make, Think, Imagine. And what first caught me about that book was make, think, imagine. Isn't it imagine? Think about
think about it and then make. Yeah.
Yes. But he's titled his book Make, Think, Imagine. And it's about engineering. And now as I read it, I discover that, he's an advocate that everything is around.
It's made in your mind first. Yeah.
Yeah, so it exposes you to different ways of approaching something instead of always using the one way to do something. So those are the four things that I would definitely highlight.
Yeah. So Ruth, I know that Jackie is gonna kill me, but we are sharing this on Facebook, and we're also doing a watch party on the South African Black Entrepreneur Forum website page or group on Facebook. And I've actually got a question from Soli Naftali. Now I'll tell you something. I haven't seen Soli in years. We're at university together. We're talking about the year 2000 almost. So almost 20 years. So welcome, Solly. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the kind words to me, first of all. I really appreciate them. But he's actually got a question for you. And his question is actually quite a challenging one. So I'm not sure how best you're going to respond to this. It would seem that Solly's got inspiration to invest into a rundown hotel. I'm trying to remember which part of the country Solly comes from. I know it's in the Free State, I think, if I recall correctly, if I remember. So he's saying if you was to buy a rundown kind of lodge, a hotel, what advice would Ruth give to someone with no experience in the industry? So I don't know how you're gonna approach that.
Okay, when
So
he says
someone
rundown,
he's buying like perhaps a dilapidated I mean, look, listen, it's COVID times, post-COVID. Some people have run their operations to the ground. They're looking to sell and exit the industry. There's too much pressure with Airbnb. There's too much pressure with the economy. There's too much pressure with COVID. Maybe seeing an opportunity in which to invest in a property or hospitality establishment. Again, what advice? He comes from the Northwest. He just mentioned now. He's from the Northwest. He's looking at these opportunities that are presenting themselves. How does he invest and establish themselves in the hospitality industry? I mean, I think this will have to probably take you right back to the early days of Ikaya, without the challenges of the body corporate and all the naysayers and the nasty people. When you made that investment, you and your brother, what was the experience then, and what kind of critical things did you grow from there?
So he says the business is dilapidated. So I'm guessing he means that the state of the structure is probably not well maintained, or maybe the equipment and the fittings are not properly maintained. Okay, so what I would ask Solly is, has he looked at the numbers of the business? So is it trading? Is it possible for him to grow the sales? So if it's trading as a maximum and it's not in a good state, it means that there's no market in that area. But if he has looked at it and he can see that it's probably because they're trading at 40% of capacity, you know what I mean, that he can see how he can expand, then he can go for it. The second thing that he needs to look at before, so when he does that, obviously he'll do his maths and then he'll see. The second thing he needs to look at before he makes those decisions is the location of the business. In property, people say location, location, location. And it's the same thing with hospitality, because you could have a really good guest house. You've sorted it out so nicely, but it's not on anyone's radar. It's not going to be convenient for people to come and stay there. So where is it situated? Is there human traffic, or is it because it's in the CBD?
Destination.
If it's a destination, what is it close to? Is it close to, like for us, we can say we are destination because we are close to Table Mountain. But at the same time, our location in the city makes us very central. So if it's a destination, it has to be close to something notable that's going to draw people, and then they'll stay with you. Then the other thing that I would ask him, when he says it's dilapidated, he has to put funds into it. And so he needs to look at what level he wants to be at. Is he going to put in funds and start as a 3-star or a 4-star, get that going, recover, and then continue upgrading? Eventually, if he's interested, he can be a 5-star. You see, you don't have to be a 5-star. You can choose your niche. And in that particular niche, you stay there and just over-deliver in that niche. And that will attract people to you. when you take on a 5-star status, there are other pressures that you need to think about. And I wouldn't suggest that to him immediately unless he was very certain about his market. And then he needs to join the right associations. I think I mentioned that as well, because he needs to network with people so that he can know what's happening in the industry and be linked into services that will help him grow.
Well, that's a good segue to Beatrice's question. Beatrice is tuned in on YouTube, so thanks, Beatrice, for joining us. And she says, how does networking and being involved in different organizations like FEDHASA help your business? So I guess this is your FEDHASA hat now. You have to do a pitch for FEDHASA. I mean, I've attended some FEDHASA meetings. They're always kind of, it's like a very wonderful peer network where everybody believes their establishment is the best. I also remember the time when I was telling you to join FEDHASA in the early days, and I was pushing you to say, listen, you gotta kind of get into the space. So talk to that part of it, the networking opportunity around, especially established organizations like FEDHASA, the benefit they're in, and perhaps even touch on your own journey with FEDHASA in terms of from the time that you and I kind of chatted about it. I mean, you're now on the committee and you're now in the leadership role. What has that journey been like over the years?
Beatrice, thanks for your question. And I would say that joining a networking group that is related to what you're doing is so important, because it's about like minds. It's about exchanging ideas with people who are interested in what you're saying. And so you find out what people are doing. So to Vu's point, Vu came into my vision at that point when I was saying my circle has to change. The way I'm living in Cape Town has to reflect the person that I am. And then Vu appeared. And so he told me about FEDHASA, which I didn't know about before. And I joined because I was really thirsty for that kind of interaction, because it can be very lonely as an entrepreneur if you're just trying to cook up things in your head. So it doesn't matter which industry you're in. It's better to cross-pollinate with people. You might find that you don't need to reinvent the wheel, just find out how so-and-so is doing. And like Vu says, yes, we did. It is an environment where people are very positive about what they're doing. But what that does is create in you a sense of pride in the industry, in whatever it is that you're doing. So that's another reason why it's good to join the network. And when you're in a network, you can also see how you as an individual can grow professionally in that network. So I happened to be nominated on the board. I just received a phone call one day from one of the board members at that time, and she's still on the board, Noli Mili. She called me and said, we've been discussing you on the board and we were wondering if you'd be willing to be nominated. So they ask people before you go in, and then they get 3 or 4 people, and then of course the members vote. So it's not rigged or anything, but they have to get your permission. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, attending these meetings, the conversations that I've been having, maybe it's now they believe that I have got something to say. So that's reaffirming. So on a personal level, you get reaffirmed. And then when you go onto a board like I did with FEDHASA, and the board was exceptional. Those 4 years, wonderful people. You find it's a safe place for you to actually discuss the issues of the industry. And you can be completely honest about what is holding the industry back, what needs to be done. And so you find that I felt that I was in an industry that I knew what was happening, because now I was on the board of FEDHASA. Before things hit the press, we normally would know. And that's very empowering.
And again, that component of advocacy, when you feel there's something that's blocking your way in your development.
Yes.
So as we get closer to kind of wrapping up on I want to go back to your personal journey, your personal story. And I want to talk about someone who's maybe tuning in and wondering, why not do what you've done with Ikaya? Why didn't you do it in Kenya? I mean, Kenya is a tourism hub. Why Cape Town? Why not Kenya? Why not Nairobi or somewhere closer to home? Why South Africa? Why everything?
Well, when I was working with a NutraSweet company, post-independence of South Africa, they moved the head office from Nairobi to Johannesburg. So I was relocated to Johannesburg in 1999. And so we moved here and I was working here. And so you start working here, you start discovering the different country again. And so as far as I was concerned, it's a place that makes sense and we work. Now, how we came to be at Ikaya, I think really, Vu, it's that whole idea of being a Pan-African, It works. You see something, it's working. You can see the location, you can see the product, you can see the numbers, and you can see what you want to do. So you can't say like, I'm not going to do it because it's in Kenya. You want to believe that as a Pan-African, because you're going to be in that space and playing in a fair way, that you will prosper. And as you prosper, the people around you and that country will prosper. Vu, a country like the US is a nation of immigrants, right? And then we say, it's the biggest sort of free economy in the world. But it's actually made that way because of all the people who've gone to the US to build that economy,
Yeah.
And the same thing with Europe. Everybody is going to Europe and building those economies. So as Africans, we need to start thinking that if I have a business in Kenya and I can replicate it in in South Africa, then I must do it. And if I see an opportunity, we didn't overthink it is the short answer, Vu. It just was a good proposition and we went for it. I was living in New Zealand and I was thinking of coming back to Africa, and it just seemed doable.
Yeah. So you've certainly inspired all of us by, again, following your heart. Thank you, Mom. I mean, to me, the biggest takeaway from your story was just the general influence of your mom. I always thought it was your dad who had this kind of impact on you, but clearly I was wrong. It was really your mom. And again, obviously, the support of your brother. And I know you have other siblings, so we don't want to miss out on everybody else. But I think just being a great, amazing partner and collaborator with you. So again, it's been kind of so inspirational in terms of where it is. I know you're coming back in a couple of weeks to have a masterclass with us on the practical elements of running a hospitality business. So I'm going to use the opportunity now. And I mean, it's such a pity. I was actually saying in the studio in the background to Dirkie, it would have been so awesome to see some of your pictures of you growing up, of pictures of your village. But I want to kind of take one step back as we wrap on your side, Ruthie, and just ask about the future. Okay, Empty Nest is coming. Brad and Jess are moving on with their life. They're gonna have amazing lives, no doubt. You now are thinking about the future of where you're gonna go as things go. What does 2030 look like in the world of Ruth Kamau, so that we can constantly be bringing you back to share the next iteration of the journey?
Did you say 2030?
2030, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking 10 years from now. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I want to be in a position where I'm continuing this conversation about this enormous potential there is on the continent. I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I don't mean that to tell people Ikaya is not going to exist anymore. It could exist, but I'm not stuck. And, I'm not actually there on a day-to-day basis. I'm able to, because I have a very wonderful team and they've been able to take on a lot of what I do. But this continent fascinates me completely, and it's and working with Ikaya and having sort of created a microcosm of the Pan-African vision that is clearly so deeply embedded in my psyche. I want to be doing something that allows me to promote that more. So whether it's building on Ikaya, whether they're working alongside, just something that promotes the whole issue of Pan-Africanism more.
So listen, you're more than welcome to join me on my journey. I've done 18 countries on the continent. I've got another 34 to go. So I'm still planning, as soon as they allow us to get on a plane, I'm already going to be making my way to, I'm trying to warm up. I'm doing Joburg, we're doing Durban as a family. But as soon as they open the borders, I'm out of here. So, we can carry on. I'm excited for wonderful projects. Go look up Equatorial Guinea, Ruth. It will blow your mind. We've recently gotten some work out of Equatorial Guinea, and it's been such an amazing journey for us as a team. With that said, I want to thank you. I know we're looking forward to your masterclass. There's some details in the presentation I'm going to share shortly. But thank you for inspiring us with your wonderful story of just being a competent kind of a professional, being a wonderful inspiration in being pioneering and doing things that, again, I mean, I'm blown away by how kind and gentle you are, or you have been, in terms of your feedback. Because I remember those days when a lot of that racial kind of tension, especially around Dunkley Square and the establishments they're in, I'm allowed to say it because it doesn't affect me, but I know you have to be a good neighbor. And I know how challenging those times were. But again, and here you are. I mean, the most amazing thing is that you remain well anchored, and you're now basically an institution in that particular square. Continue to find strength in your journey. Continue to work hard in fulfilling your vision and your dreams, Ruth. So thank you so much. For anyone who hasn't heard, it's Ikaya Lodge. It's at Dunkley Square. It's on the footsteps of Parliament. It's not far from Table Mountain. So if you're planning your next trip to Cape Town, do make sure that you look them up, ikayalodge.co.za. Again, reach out to Ruth. Tell her you heard her speak and share her personal story. Maybe you'll get a discount. I don't know. But, thank you so much for having joined us, Ruth. And thanks to everybody who've tuned in. We've got a lot coming up in our program. So, yes, Dirkie, you can go back to kind of the next thing. So we're going to check about that. But before, maybe quickly before I get to my slide, we still got time, guys. Sorry about that. Can we bring Bongi back? Sorry, Dirkie. I just wanted to get Bongi's thoughts. I do apologize for that, everybody. So, Bongi, what did you think?
Wow. I'm so blown away by your story, Ruth. That was absolutely amazing. I admire your faith in God. And I really do believe that you are blessed. I took some notes, Wu, and I just want to summarize for you the things that I took away from the session. The first was advice from Ruth's mom. Go for your dreams and monetize them. I think we're often told,
Amen.
we're often told to go for our dreams, but not the piece about monetizing them. And I think a platform like Cooler Growth as a club, and if you keep joining us on these webinars, those are the types of things we try to unpack. How do you monetize those dreams? How do we get more African entrepreneurs on the continent doing what they do best, and even sharing some new ideas and new sectors? The other one was that leadership is involvement. I really took that to heart. As a leader in this SME space, I'm going to add that in my chapter, in that there's nothing wrong with leading from the front, and there's nothing wrong with leading as through service. And so, yes, I really enjoyed that nugget of wisdom. And last but not least was your value around integrity. Do what really moves you. I think, during this time around this pandemic, people are asking, I think Ida asked a question around, if I'm dreaming about the hospitality industry, how do I start? I mean, the answer is right there. If you take integrity and you truly are impeccable with your word, you will find yourself that your passion points to your purpose, and you will end up doing what really moves you. Here's Ruth, who grew up seeing entrepreneurship with her parents and dabbled in the corporate world, but ultimately did what really, really moves her. And that's a Pan-African spirit, to seeing, an African experience in the middle of Cape Town. And so, Vu, in closing, I know where I'm going next. I'm coming to Cape Town. Where's the Kaya Lodge?
And you'll be
Thank you
surrounded
so
by
much.
everything.
Thank you so much, Bongiwe.
It's
I
a
mean,
sensory experience. Yeah.
thank
It's an
you.
amazing
Thank you
sensory
so much.
experience as well. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
It's a
So
real
thank you
blessing
both.
to hear you say that. Thank you,
Thank you
Vu.
both,
Thank
ladies.
you very much.
Thank you for having joined us. It's been an amazing session, everybody. Tune in again. We've got Ruth back on the Tuesday, 22 September, 6 p.m. to 7:30. This time, it's a masterclass. This time, it's less story. It's more practical business. Kind of Ruth's kind of genius and some of these things that again in setting up a magical place in the middle of Cape Town. So a little island of Africa in the middle of Cape Town. You can get some of those tips. And again, she'll be also chatting about how you can run a sustainable hospitality established post-COVID. So looking forward to Ruth's lessons out of that. And as we always say, every month is Women's Month in the economy. So every month is Women's Month. So this is part of our hashtag Women in Tourism kind of series. So we're looking forward to hearing Ruth's kind of masterclass and lessons. You can also join us for the next Kula Growth Club session. This time we are hosting another session on tourism. This time it's with Septi Bukula. It's going to be this time on Wednesday. So because the 24th, Thursday the 24th is a public holiday, we bring you on the Wednesday the 23rd of September. But you're also welcome to tell us who else would you like to listen to as we move forward. October is Food Month. We have an exciting series of people coming on. We're going to have women in the food industry, and we're going to be talking about food in general. So do remember to join us in October as well. But looking forward to the next session, which is going to be on the Kula Growth Club right here on Facebook and YouTube, live streamed with Septi Bukula. And again, the session, the masterclass with Ruth on Tuesday, the 22nd. So do make sure you diarize those dates. And with that, thanks to the team at SM Tax, thanks to the team at DPK, thank you to Ruth for taking the time to share her personal story with us. Thanks everybody for tuning in and good night. That is our time for tonight.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.